Today is a special day if you're a motocross fan because the Italian brand Ducati just unveiled their all-new Desmo450 motocross bike in North America. This is the Italian brand's first attempt at a full-blown motocross bike. Over the past few years, we've seen the Italian brand dabble into some more adventure-style riding, some more off-road style riding with their Desert X models and some of their other adventure bike models. But again, this is the first full-blown motocross bike that Ducati is going to produce in 2025. Now, the bike that I'm going to show you guys today is still a prototype or pre-production prototype model, so it will not look exactly the same when this bike is probably unveiled in its production form in a few months' time. Now, one thing that I want to stress to you guys is not all of the componentry that you will see on this bike will not make its way over to the production bike, but I will tell you what you do see on this prototype or pre-production model on other current model bikes in the 450cc lineup. Let's start with price point and availability. As of right now, this is January 10th, the day before Anaheim 1 Supercross. There is no price point for the Desmo450 MX. I've heard a lot of different price points thrown around about this bike, some even as high as $20,000, which I think is a little insane. If it was going to come out at $20,000, I would expect some A-kit suspension or really high-level componentry on the bike to match that price point for the bike. If I had to guess, just to ballpark some numbers off the top of my head, if it's going to come with non-coated suspension, no extra bling stuff on the wheels, the clamps, any good knickknacks that you get on like a factory edition model or a special racer edition model bike like the Kawasaki, I would go ahead and say this bike is probably a safe bet in the 12.5 range to maybe 13.5 range. And I think that's a good estimate for a bike that would come with the Showa 49mm twin chamber spring fork that you would see on like the Kawasaki KX450, the Honda CRF 450R. Again, no extra blingy stuff. That's pretty much just all of the standard componentry that you would see upon other 450cc motocross bikes in the paddock. Let's also talk about availability. Now, apparently these bikes are arriving to Ducati dealers in July of 2025. When they come out and say, hey, the bikes are going to arrive to dealers, they're normally, let's say, 2 weeks to even a month behind that date. So I would expect maybe late July, even early August for these bikes to start showing up at Ducati dealers. And I know I will be contacting my local Ducati dealer for a Desmo450 MX when it becomes available. Enough talking about the bike. Let's focus on the componentry seen on the bike that I'm going to show to you guys today. Obviously, the Desmo450 MX has a very striking look to it. The big, bold red plastics I'm a super fan of. I think the bodywork, the shrouds, the rear fender, even the fork guards look really clean and elegant. Let's talk about the suspension seen upon this bike. This bike debuted about 2 hours ago now. And again, I want to reiterate to you guys what you see in these photos. I do not think we will see the exact units upon the production model of this bike. Starting out back, it has a Showa Unitrack rear shock that shares the same shock with the 2024 and 2025 KX450, and it is also seen on the 2025 KX250 as that bike was updated to see the same chassis and suspension as its bigger brethren. There's two obvious ways to tell that this is a Showa Unitrack rear shock off of a KX model, one of which is the shock adjuster itself. You can see it has a green coating where you would put in your flathead to adjust your low speed compression. You can also look at the shock clevis area, as that is another dead giveaway that this is a KX model shock. Moving up front, we see a Showa 49mm twin chamber spring fork. This is not quite an A-kit option, and one of the reasons why I say that is the top fork caps. The top fork caps are off of the 2025 CRF 450R Works Edition. Another dead giveaway to this is you can see the blue anodizing on the fork cap. You can also see the finger adjuster is the exact same on the Desmo450 MX when compared to the CRF 450R Works Edition. Moving on to the outer tubes, these are a Kashima coated outer tube, again still Showa componentry, and then the fork inner tube is an emerald coated inner tube. These are the same tubes that you probably see on the Lawrence Brother bikes or any bike that runs Showa A-kit suspension. Now again, when I say this is A-kit suspension off the rip, not exactly. Yes, it has that inner tube in common, with the emerald coating, but I don't think this is a full-blown factory Showa A-kit fork. The most intriguing thing about this bike is the Desmodromic valve system seen inside the motor. I am personally super excited to see this technology make its way over from the street side of things and finally make its way over to the dirt world. I think it's one of the most intriguing and innovative technologies that we have seen inside of a motor in quite a long time. You guys can fact check me in the comments down below about how high a Desmo system revs to, but I think it's in the neighborhood of up to 20,000 RPM, which is absolutely ridiculous. Not saying that this Desmo 450 MX will rev out that much. Again, we don't have that much information or specs about this bike, but we can only talk about what we see on the outside. Now, this bike has been racing the Italian Motocross Championship under the tutelage of Alessandro Lupino and Antonio Caroli. Aboard that bike, we see an STM clutch, which Ducati is no stranger in working with, but I do not see an STM clutch cover on the bike that was debuted in North America. I think the North American bike will probably have a Hinson clutch system in it, just off of my guess, as I work with a lot of the factory teams in the Supercross and Pro Motocross paddock. Out back, you do see the Akrapovic exhaust. Again, no stranger to Ducati and Akrapovic having a relationship over in Europe, bringing that relationship over here to the North America. Now, you guys might be asking yourself, is the shared commonalities that we see on the bike today, that being the Showa rear shock off the KX450, and some of the components you're seeing on the fork that has in common with the CRF 450R Works Edition, those are all really high-level componentry off the showroom floor. The KX450 isn't known for having great out-of-the-box suspension. I think it's kind of middle of the road, doesn't have any glaring negatives or any glaring positives, but the componentry seen inside there, that being the compression adjuster piston, the main piston on the shock shaft, the shock body itself, all really high-level componentry that responds really well to revalves by any reputable suspension tuner. The same goes for the front forks. At Rad JBI, we think the Showa 49mm twin-chamber spring fork is our highest performing JBI spec fork, and I think when the Desmo 450 MX enters the JBI spec R&D phase, I do think this will be one of our more high-performing options compared to some of the other options that we do offer. Again, there's not a whole lot to talk about this bike as of right now, but I did want to hop on YouTube and make a video for you guys, as this is a very exciting time for the motocross community. We're having Triumph, Ducati, and even other brands entering our space, and I think it's a good time for motocross enthusiasts to be really happy that more brands are entering the sport. There's more options for us riders and just diehard enthusiasts to go out and enjoy on the weekend. So drop your thoughts about the Desmo 450 MX in the comments below. I know a lot of you guys think this is, oh, it's just another Honda, oh, it's just another bike, but I do think this bike has some unique and intriguing traits about it that will separate this bike from the rest of the bikes in the 450 paddock. Also, comment down below who you think you will see on this bike in the 2026 Super Motocross season, as a lot of the top riders, that being Chase Sexton, Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen, they're all on the last leg of their contract with their current teams and manufacturers. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ducati signs a big name heading into 2026, as it will look good not only for the brand, but also for the Desmo 450 MX bike to come out and get results right away. Again, just wanted to hop on here and make a quick video about this bike for you guys and kind of share some of the knowledge that I have gained over the past few months and share it with you guys up on my channel. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will have a lot more of my personal moto content coming to you guys very shortly. I will also be at Anaheim 1 Supercross tomorrow, so I'm super excited to be at Angel Stadium in the stands cheering on some of the best riders in the world for 20 minutes plus one lap. Thank you guys for watching once again, and I will see you guys in the next video.